fans, and welcome to an episode of Silver Screams. This isn't quite like the stuff we normally do. It's not a horror Q&A, and it's not a straight up.
It's a review. We're just gonna sit here and talk about shit we like. It's gonna be kind of like Screaming Titans, except it's not about screaming. Is it Screaming Titans? Is that what we call it? Except it's not about Attack on Titan. It's about Willy's Wonderland. I love this movie so goddamn much.
You clicked on the video, you know it's a Willy's Wonderland review.
And it's your birthday, and we want you to have fun.
So, I'm Megan Salinas.
I'm Katie Cullen.
And, yeah, fair warning, we will be going into spoilers. Do you want to designate it?
Let's do a real quick, like, overall, what did we think of this movie? No spoilers. For like, the first couple of minutes, and then after that, fair fucking game. So we will give you like a hard stop, but for this first very, very small bit, like just the, 10-sentence published in the newspaper under the other larger movies that released this weekend or would have were we not in Corona times. Yeah, that.
So yeah, we will be going into spoiler territory at some point. Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say this is going to be a fairly unstructured discussion. Oh. It's not going to be like when we do Screaming Titans where we have like certain points that we're hitting and like a structure of like, let's break it down here and this way. No, we're just going to be talking about this thing. So
it's not going to be a blow by blow. This is basically a vlog.
Yeah, and it's not a recap video either, so this is just our thoughts and a glass of whiskey.
I have Calpico.
Cheers! Clink.
I will say, if you are at all interested in seeing this movie, pony up the $20, rent it for 48 hours on Amazon. I guess this is my review for this then.
Okay,
this is just going to be, make sure you watch the movie before you watch this video, if you were at all interested in this movie, because there's definitely some moments where I'm very glad I wasn't spoiled for them and they weren't in the trailer, because we had some moments where I just completely lost my shit. Either yelling things or laughing or like, yes. This movie is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's great. It needs another pass on the script. There were some issues. I honestly think there's a few too many characters and we'll get into that. But my God, was it fun. We rented it for 48 hours on Amazon, because that's about the only way you can get it right now. We watched it twice in that time, and I enjoyed this movie so much. It is an amalgamate of what probably should have been a 20-minute short film starring Nicolas Cage beating things up, and a schlocky B-horror teen slasher movie. And we just threw that in a blender and poured it out into one of those fun mugs in the shape of a character's head and handed it to you and said, shotgun it. And then we went, okay, and poured about 5 shots of rum in it and stirred those in, and then shotgunned it. This movie is a fucking ride. And if you want to be drunk or high while watching it, great. That works too. I was not. And I enjoyed it a lot more on second viewing. I think first viewing I was just completely exhausted. Second viewing, I'd had a night's sleep and felt better.
Yeah, the first time we watched it, I enjoyed it more. Like, look, if you're going to have a film that is derivative of the Five Nights at Freddy's brand, we sat down on a Friday night, I had booze, we had pizza, and we were like, okay, let's fucking do this. And in my mind, that's the ideal way to sit down and watch this movie, is just like, and if you don't want to spend $20 to rent it, I do believe it is going to be available on Blu-ray and DVD come April. I think that's when they announced that it was going to be available. But
at which point it will be close to my birthday, and I will be purchasing that because I want me to have fun. My pie in the sky for the Blu-ray is a Nick Cage commentary track. I'm sure that won't happen, but I want it so much.
But yeah, I think the first time we watched it, I was like, that was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be, and you seemed a little disappointed. Upon a rewatch, I actually felt kind of more apathetic, and you were like, that was better than I expected it to be.
Again, that first watch, I hadn't slept well in a week. which will also, like, that colors your entire life, guys.
True
Make sure
story.
you sleep. And then I'd finally gotten a relatively good night's sleep, and we watched it again, and I was like, all right, I know what's coming, I know where we are. I already know that this isn't going to be a tour de force. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm in for. Oh my god, this was hysterical.
Hell, when I watched Ready or Not, I had, like, it's a fantastic movie, but I had a gigantic headache while I was watching it. And so I'm like, objectively, I know this movie's great. I'm gonna have to watch it again because I'm not having a good time right now. And it was the same with the Force Awakens because that was not long after my back injury.
You were in a
and
lot
so
of
I was in a
pain.
lot of pain watching the Force Awakens and going, I think this is good. I can't tell though. Everything hurts.
And before anyone gets into it, I know there's a lot of pain jokes, Star Wars, etc. to be made. Not what the comments of this video are for.
But
okay? Everyone's welcome to their opinions, but this is for FNAF, animatronics, and dumb shit. This is not for Star Wars opinions. That comment section is in other videos.
But point being, your state of being can definitely color your experience, the subjective experience of looking at a piece of art.
Yes.
And I think that was what you were experiencing.
Yep.
Because yeah, when we did take a few steps back and you got to look at it again, you had a much more favorable reaction to it, and you've been dying to do this video ever since.
It's been almost a week since we watched it the first time, and we have busy schedules.
I guess my
DW.
Yeah.
TLDW, too long to watch.
It's fine. It is what you expect it to be. It's low budget schlock, but when it's good, it's great. And when it's not,
it's still funny.
One of my biggest problems with it is that a lot of the movie feels like it's unnecessarily shot on a wide angle lens to create this feeling of like distortion, and that's what a thing like Willy's Wonderland is meant to do. It's a place of fun and family-friendly values that has been twisted and distorted to be a horror movie scenario. So I get why they'd be like, hey, fishing the lens to like make everything look weird and distorted and to show that something's not quite right, basically from the get-go. Point being, I got tired of looking at the world through that literal lens. But like I said, when the movie's good, it's great, and when it's not, it's still Nicolas Cage kicking the crap out of animatronics, so you know exactly what you're getting into.
Okay, this is the point where we put in spoiler warning. So you know,
Ooh,
if you
spoilers,
haven't seen it yet and you want to see it, now is a good time to stop this video and go watch Willy's Wonderland and then possibly get drunk and then go watch Willy's
Definitely
Wonderland.
get drunk.
Only if you legally can.
Yes.
Only if you legally and safely can do it.
Get drunk responsibly.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say don't get drunk and then drive anywhere, but we're in a pandemic. You shouldn't be driving anywhere anyway. Yeah. So,
just make good choices.
Make good choices. And this is where we get into the spoilers.
So, Katie,
I think the point where I was sold on this movie was where Nicolas Cage beat the daylights out of an animatronic ostrich and then ripped its neck out while it was still dripping oil. That's the point where I went, oh my god.
It's metal spine.
Yes. Just this moment of, the fuck? It was so good. Oh man, this fucking movie. I'm not kidding about, this was 20 minutes of Nicolas Cage beating up animatronics and an hour and some change of this is a horror movie, a slasher. There's more than 20 minutes of footage of Nicolas Cage beating up animatronics, but if it had just been that, it would have been a 20-minute short film.
And
we would have been fine. It would have been fine. We would have dispensed with most of the story. But with those two different ideas stitched together, there are places where it works extremely well. Most of the interactions with Nicolas Cage's character, only known as the janitor, and Liv, our main, I want to say teenager. She's probably in her 20s. Whom's the fuck knows?
I would say, yeah, late teens, early 20s. Maybe even mid-20s if we're going like the far end of
I'm just going
that
to
particular
say
range.
teenager because it's an easy word to say. And it delineates our group
College
of teenagers
age student.
from our group of everyone else.
Yeah.
And we do have them grouped on the whiteboard.
Yeah, literally college age kids, and that's what we'll go with.
Yeah, college kids. All of the interactions between the janitor and Liv are just spot on amazing. We get a few of them in the trailer, but there's one later on that is built up to and 110% worth the price of admission, and I lost my goddamn mind. Yeah, it's the scene with Cammy the Chameleon and, oh, we're gonna get, nope, time to go on break. Here's your knife. Fuckity bye. Amazing.
Cammy the Chameleon kills a kid, and then Liv is face to face with it. Nicolas Cage's character, the janitor, comes in. He's getting ready to fight it because he's already killed two different animatronics. Yeah.
This set, okay, we're doing a lot. I'm still kind of in my overall, but that is one of my favorite moments in the movie. Worth the $20. Holy shit. There are places where the blend works really well, and there are places where the stitches show. I think we had a few too many animatronics, to the point where we couldn't keep track of all of them.
Yeah.
I think we had a few too many college kids, because there were definitely one or two in there that just straight up felt useless. I really think it could have used another pass-through with the script, just in terms of the origin story of the place, where we threw everything and the kitchen sink into why is Willy so fucked up. Like, we took every possible origin story and then just went, yes. And as much as I love that, it also feels like it's way too goddamn much, you know? Yeah, there are places where it did not stitch together well, and those really show. And then there are places where it's stupid fun and amazing, and let's be real, most of that is Nick Cage beating up animatronics.
Where
but
it's chocolate and peanut butter combined together, and it's delicious.
But we have some character moments, like we have Kathy, who is our other college kid, the only other girl in the troupe, who she's introduced in short skirt, faux leather jacket, blonde curls, just, you look at her and you go, okay, that kind of character. And then the first thing she does is pull a bobby pin out of her hair and pick a pair of handcuffs. Like,
wordlessly.
Just nothing. Just pulls it out of her hair, does it, and then just looks at Liv like, what, like it's hard? We see, like, some of the great points of this art, we see so much for her that's just in the character acting, where it's the bobby pin bit, it's the, she's fearless in terms of, well, we need to get Liv out of there, well, we need to go inside. Like, there's so much for her. And then when we have to have the obligatory two kids are having sex where they shouldn't in a horror movie and they get murdered for it, it's her and it's her boyfriend who has been 110%, this is stupid, I don't want to be here, this place is fucked up, I don't want to die, we should get out as soon as we can.
Yeah, it was so weird to have the two characters,
the two smartest people in the room aside from Liv.
Yeah, and two of the most vocal characters about the current situation too. Like, again, Kathy was like, we're not leaving Liv behind. Like, you guys can sit here and deliberate. I'm actually going to go and do something about that.
I'm going to go save her.
She's extremely proactive in that regard. And then to have, I think Bob prior to this was the most vocal character, regardless of what his opinion about Willy's was. He was the most vocal of his opinion all throughout the thing. It is so weird to have those two characters, just because they're together, be the ones that go off to have the obligatory sex scene. It's literally like, again, we're knocking things off of the checklist, and it's like, does it make sense for these two characters to go and have sex right now? And the answer is no. It doesn't.
But we had so they wind up in like the super happy fun time room, and I know that's not the name, but I can't remember the exact name.
I can't remember it either, but it might as well just be super happy fun time room.
Super happy fun time room. That's too many syllables, but whatever. The private party room, basically. And she comes on to him like, oh, this is where the murders happen. This is where the ritual happened. I'm getting turned on right now. And the thing is, If we'd had something like this from her earlier, and this is where I come into the script needed another pass. We needed a line or two from her like, we're going to Willy's, like, oh, I'm so fascinated, or oh man, serial killers turn me on, or just something
literally
like
one line could have set it up
and
a little bit better.
There are people who get turned on by a horror situation. There are people who get turned on by true crime. I mean, it's your kink, whatever, it's fine.
I was both horrified and aroused. Aroused, you might say.
Or if you prefer, mark me down as scared and horny.
I mean, we do live in a world where the Resident Evil trailer made the entire internet lose its mind over tall vampires.
She's like 9 feet tall. It's wild. And anyway. Aroused. Yes. So it's one of those things where if we'd set it up earlier at some point, and if we had set Bob up as this sort of person where if she's like, oh yeah, I'm into it, his knee-jerk reaction is, yes baby, let's go. Like, if that overrides other things, then when it came back around, we'd be like, oh, okay. But it's like they got into this room and then they both turned their brains off. It's full cabin in the woods, deploy the pheromones. Yeah. That's basically what happened here. Yeah. And it doesn't fit these characters.
No, there has to be someone sitting in a control room somewhere making it happen. No.
So again, we've got this weird thing where we stitch these two concepts together, and this is one thing that doesn't work, because it's the obligatory horror, the couple has to have sex in the horror movie and then get killed because of it. But with the way that we've set up these two characters, it doesn't work correctly.
And there are things like that littered throughout the film where you're just like, we just need somebody to go over this 1 or 2 more times. Or we just need somebody to think about this for 2 more seconds.
But honestly, one of the animatronic fights was like that. And we have 8 animatronics, you guys.
That's a lot of animatronics.
Which is too many animatronics to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, even for an establishment, that's a lot. That is so much to keep track of.
And look, I can understand wanting to steer away from the number 5 because it's impossible not to see the Five Nights at Freddy's parallels.
Well, and FNAF had 4 animatronics, and then Golden Freddy is kind of the what the fuck?
So again,
I get it.
I understand wanting to steer away from the number 5, but 8's a little much.
We had 6 college kids, we had 8 animatronics, and so we wound up with at least 1 death scene that felt extraneous. We had a couple of animatronics that were tough to keep track of. We miscounted at one point because they pop on and off the stage all the time. It was, this is where we needed to go through and we needed to pare down. Like, I think if we had gotten rid of Dan the character because he did literally nothing, and if we had gotten rid of Gus the gorilla because...
Or Dan or Aaron. Neither of them did really anything.
Aaron did a bit more, though, because Aaron was kind of trying to be the foil for Chris.
I guess.
Who was our superhero wannabe. Again, there is potential here for pretty much everyone except for Dan. Because we did look at Dan and go, he's got glasses, what else does he do? And the answer is, he found a screwdriver?
The most he did was be forthcoming after Bob encouraged him to be forthcoming about his whole opinion on this scenario.
We could have cut at least 1 college student and at least 2 animatronics. Because as much as I enjoyed all the animatronic fights, the gorilla fight felt extraneous.
It did. And it came out of literally nowhere.
Both the fight and the gorilla.
Yeah. To the point where it's just like, I'm not even sure what I'm looking at every time he pops out. Like, you know?
Because the fight takes place in the men's bathroom, which is a 3-stall affair, one of which is the larger disabled stall. So...
It only just now occurs to me that we haven't talked about the setup for this movie at all.
Well, I'm hoping you guys have all seen it.
Yeah.
But it's this.
But in case you don't care about spoilers.
Yeah. But it's this great hot and cold scene where the gorilla, played by Mark Gagliardi, which poggers my dude.
He's so great.
I love Gags. He's great. Is mocking him. Oh, you're cold. Oh, you're getting warmer. Oh, you're surface of the sun. And he opens the stall and doesn't see anything. And then suddenly, entire gorilla? Where was he hiding?
Out of nowhere. It's like he apparated out of the toilet.
And later we see the alligator in the man-sized vents that you can crawl through, which, given the backstory that we get for this entire establishment, I'm like, actually, I buy that there are man-sized vents to crawl through because of this shit. But later we see the alligator. Like, there are a number of other animatronics that could have fit in there, and we could have gone, oh, it came through the vents. The gorilla was not one of them.
Nope.
So this felt really extraneous, was filmed oddly, and while it had a few really good moments, including the final
finishing moment
of curb stomping a gorilla on a urinal.
Gross. Awesome.
Grossum.
Yeah.
Gross. I don't know. The point is, if they'd cut this scene from the movie, I wouldn't have missed it.
Nothing of value would have been lost.
Nothing of value would have been lost. So
yeah.
Some of the weaknesses of the movie are just trying to cram a few things together, and we lost some things. We had a few things that should have been cut. It just needed another script pass.
Okay, so again, to go back a little bit, the premise for this movie is that Nicolas Cage's character, who remains nameless the entire time, we'll refer to him as the janitor or Nicolas Cage.
Nameless and wordless.
Yes, he remains silent throughout the entire movie. He
just yells and makes effort noises.
Pretty much. But as he's driving his car, he runs over one of those doodad things.
Z strip?
Yeah, something that the cops basically use to be like, hey, don't...
It's the spikes in the road.
Exactly. So he runs over those. As you could probably infer from the trailer, those were left there intentionally for the purposes of trapping people. And so what happens is he is in a position where he doesn't have access to cash, and he can't pay for the repairs on his car, so he strikes up a deal with the local restaurant owner of Willy's Wonderland, who's like, hey, I will pay for the repairs on your car if you stay the night and do some light cleaning. And
this place is filthy, covered in cobwebs. Like, it's one of those, like, ugh.
Yeah, and so they leave for the night and lock him in, unbeknownst to him, and then they're like, well, our work here is done. Time to go before the horror starts.
I can't bear to hear a grown man scream. And again, they put that line in the trailer. Like, the trailer makes it very clear what this movie is going to be about.
But in case you came here before seeing the trailer, and so basically, the janitor has to survive the night, has to finish cleaning the place, otherwise he didn't fulfill his end of the deal, and has to defeat the various sentient animatronics that come to attack him. Meanwhile, there's a cast of teenage characters who are also trying to destroy Willy's for their own reasons. And there's a sheriff and her subordinate there for the night who are also thrown into the mix of things, and that's basically the outline of the story.
And what we find out in terms of the backstory, and I appreciate this. For one, we find out that Liv is a survivor of Willy's Wonderland, that her family was one of the groups caught by the tire spikes, and it was, oh, the hotel's booked up, but we've got a place where you can stay the night, it's not perfect, but there's a roof if you just do some cleaning.
Yeah, I like that story beat for sure.
Her parents were killed, and those are the people that we see die in the cold open. But she stayed in the supply closet and survived the night. And she was old enough to understand, but still young. I want to say she looked like 6 or 7.
Yeah, she was a little bitty.
She was bitty, but again, 6 or 7, you're old enough to understand when shit goes down.
Yeah, old enough to know exactly what happened, but too young and powerless to actually do anything about it.
And then the sheriff basically adopted her, or potentially kidnapped, honestly.
Yes.
Yes.
Because is there a word for adopt a kidnap? Yeah, because she was orphaned because of the direct actions of the sheriff.
But she probably had relatives. And there's a comment like, oh, we don't have internet here in this tiny little town. And part of me is like, bullshit. And the other part of me is like, yeah, maybe. Because the comment was made to Nicolas Cage as to why the ATM doesn't work. So we don't take credit cards and you can't get $1,000 in cash because we don't have internet, so that doesn't work. So that
and there are
particular
places like that.
There are places like that. That particular excuse felt very convenient, especially given that this place is big enough to have school, hardware store, ice cream shop, children's entertainment center with a sign on the freeway exit. Like, no internet sounds fishy to me. And I doubt that people would have failed to come looking for Liv if she had, like, that sentence got away from me. If she had relatives, I'm sure there would have been missing persons reports. I'm sure they would have gone, oh, well, this family was going on vacation or whatever from here to here. They disappeared at this point.
There would have been some sort of investigation.
Yeah. Like, I feel like something would have happened. So I'm going to go with kidnapped here. And Liv's relationship with the sheriff, her adoptive mom, etc., is contentious, to say the least. Liv
Can't imagine why.
Liv keeps trying to burn down Willy's. Her mom keeps evidently locking her in the trailer and at this point handcuffing her to a radiator for the night.
A+ parenting.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeesh.
It's a lot. So the backstory that we get from Liv is that Willy's was built and run by a serial killer. I don't remember the exact name, but I love that they had the detail of the serial killer convention of first, middle, last names. Because if you look, serial killers always have 3 names.
Yep.
Always.
I believe it's so that they don't, like, I believe it's specifically so that people don't confuse the serial killer with, like, John
a normal
Smith.
ass human who doesn't have that.
Like, there's
same
a John
middle name.
Gacy somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't want to confuse normal guy John Gacy with John Wayne Gacy.
There was, God, what was the name of the Oklahoma City bomber?
Ted Bundy?
That's not Ted Bundy. No, Ted Bundy was very different.
Oh, shit. I don't remember. My phone's over there. I can't look it up.
I asked because at one point there was I follow Air Force football, and there was a player who had that exact same name, but the last name was spelled differently. And it's just like, all right. So, one of those things where it's like, did his parents know? Did he? We remember
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, that was the name. That was the player's name too. It's just like, was he born before or after that happened? Yikes. So again, serial killer convention is you list first, middle, last name for them, and that's what they become known as, so they don't get mixed up with other people. So I appreciate that our fictional serial killer was first, middle, last name in this movie. And this fictional serial killer created Willy's Wonderland, and then also I guess everyone who worked there was someone he groomed to also be a serial killer, and also a Satanist. So occasionally they would take an entire family back to the Happy Fun Room and just slaughter them because lol. And then when uncertain if the police or the feds, I think the feds, got involved, they came back to the Happy Fun Room and they had done a satanic ritual.
Sure.
Where it would bind their souls and consciousnesses and whatnot to inanimate objects. In this case, the animatronics. And that's the story that we get from Liv telling the janitor who is not paying any attention to her and cleaning out an oven at the time, which is just perfect. And she's saying, yeah, and they got everyone in town in on their act, like everyone's in on it, everyone sold their soul.
Because what happened was that after that, the animatronics would, like, go out into town and murder random folk.
We get the other half of the story from the sheriff talking to Evan, and this is Evan's purpose in this story. He's kind of like, I'm sure he's the rookie at, like, the state level cops.
Yeah.
So when this town requested backup for a night, they're like, oh hey, it's the tiny little bumfuck town in the middle of nowhere. We're sending you. So he was expecting to be pranked. He's just this good-natured guy who's got a wife and kids on the way, and he was put here to die, let's be real.
Yep.
So he's here to raise the body count and to be the person that the sheriff gives the other half of the story to. Because Tex and our auto repair person show up for the first part of the movie and then fuck off until the last part of the movie. And they're the only other people who would know. And the sheriff gives him the rest of the story once one of the kids calls and goes, we're at Willy's, Liv is here, please help. And what happened was, yeah, the possessed animatronics started coming into town and killing people at, this is why we know there's an ice cream shop, a hardware store, and I almost said a zoo, a school. Not the same at all. Not the same. And a school. So they were coming into town and killing people. And so they cut a deal with the animatronics. Like, you guys stay in here and we'll feed you. So they're in on the sheriff laying the traps on the freeway, catching people. Oh, well, we can fix the tires on your car, but you don't have enough cash for it. We don't have a working ATM. Yeah. But if you want to just come and, you know, do a little light cleaning, stay here for the night, we'll get it fixed up, we'll get it going.
Yeah,
it's been the same scam over and over and over. And this was a really good part of the movie.
Yes, I concur wholeheartedly. What you think is just a couple shady people doing shady things actually turns out to be a essentially town-wide conspiracy. And I have a soft spot for a number of things, a number of horror tropes that this movie engages in. One of those things is that the entire town's in on it. I very much like that trope. And utilizing the use of, you know, taking something meant to be fun and charming and specifically oriented towards kids and turning that on its head and making it horrifying. So I think my favorite scene in the entire movie was the bit where, you know, just after Liv gets done explaining this story, the music starts up and Willy performs a little song on stage.
It starts being that it's your birthday, whatever, stops, lights down, lights back up again.
And a
completely different song that does not sound as rote and recorded as the "It's Your Birthday" bit.
Yeah, no, and it's this song. It's very Agatha Christie, and then there were none, because it's there are 6 little chickens, and it goes through talking about how, like, oh well, they're on the line, they're doing this, and it ends with 5 little chickens.
Yeah, it's the 6 little chickens at the end of the line, 6 little chickens in the weasel's den. It's like, the weasel's hungry, 6 little chickens will do just fine. And it's just this beautifully creepy song. This is the 1-2 Freddy's Coming For You of this movie.
Which is why I like it so much.
And it's catchy as hell. Yes. And it ends, and just this bit, and you're going to get, okay, it's the chorus. We're coming back to this, and it's going to be that 6 little chickens, and it pauses, and then 5 little chickens at the end of the line. And it as the audience, we're sitting here going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, who's gonna... Well, one of the animatronics is a knight with a sword. And stabs Aaron, who we just subtitled as CW because he looks like he'd be the lead on a CW show.
He does.
Stabs that poor kid.
But one of the main problems then comes, like, right on the heels of this absolutely fantastic scene. And here's the thing. In a completely different movie, this would still be a fantastic scene.
Yes.
If this, even in, if this were in a high budget, like, I say high budget, horror, but if this were, like...
high budget for horror.
If this were in, like, a Blumhouse film, or like, the very rare high budget horror movie, like, that Warner Brothers occasionally throws money at,
this would still be...
Yeah, this would still be a fantastic scene. This scene is almost too good for this movie.
This scene is a crystallization of what this movie, with that extra script pass, maybe with a little bit more funding, like, the movie is solid B-movie horror schlock. This moment is the A+ moment. Yeah. This is the, if we had the entire movie up to this standard, what could it be?
Everything else in the movie could have been polished to the degree that this scene was.
Yes.
Oh
my god.
We could have had something not just fun, something legitimately amazing.
Yes.
But anyway,
but there's nothing wrong with B-movie horror schlock.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Like I said, pizza, Friday night, booze, Willy's Wonderland. It's a good time. But big problem is that on the heels of this absolutely fantastic scene, we have the death of pretty much every single teenager, with the exception of Liz. why have all these kids if you are going to murder all of them within the span, most of them within the span of like 2 minutes?
Yeah. And then Dan with the glasses, the character that we thought could be cut, had the most confusing and
strobe light.
Oh my god, that strobe light was painful, and
Yeah.
I don't have issues with anything. So
Flashing light
if
warning.
You are, flashing light warning.
If you were sensitive to that.
Because that was bad.
It was.
We were watching this with a light on and everything, and that was still just like...
We both had to like look away. We're like, whoa, that's a lot.
But it also meant that that particular death scene was just like, alright, so he got massacred, but we really didn't get any details. We didn't get to see... We knew that these characters were basically here to die, with the exception of Liv. We knew... Because that's what she does, she lives. We knew that they were here to die, but with the exception of, I want to say Chris.
Yeah, it's Chris, because he's the nice
Superman kid. Well, not the nice one. He's just trying to get in Liv's pants.
Quote unquote.
He's the tryhard. He tries way too hard.
He's the one gullible enough to believe when one of the animatronics pulls a fast one on him. So I would say he's nice.
That though.
Yeah.
This was because I miss Kathy and Bob. They deserve better. They deserve better death scenes, let's be real. Because they get torn apart by the alligator who's in the room with them, whom they knew was there, but ignored. Which is, again, like, both of y'all are smarter than this. What the fuck?
Both of them deserved... Like, if you were going to kill both of them off, they deserved better death scenes, and they deserved to have more characterization. Because, again, Kathy displayed a stunning amount of being proactive and also competence, even if she was a little short-sighted in some of that. Like, we have that with, like, the fact that she goes up on the ladder without thinking about the fact that everybody can look up her skirt and everything like that. I mean, it's just like...
The bobby pin to just... She's smart. She's resourceful.
Yeah.
She's... Yeah. High wisdom stat. And yet...
Both of them deserved better. And Bob, even though he was really annoying and really grating, he was right about pretty much everything. So both of them deserved better than the nothing death scenes that they were given.
And I mean, Dan was a nothing character who also got a nothing death scene that was incredibly difficult to watch because of the strobe lights. So goodness knows why that occurred.
Aaron, for being kind of set up as a foil, also did a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, so again, we needed another run through. We needed to... There was just more that could have been done here. Chris, I thought. Like, I thought the actual kill was disappointing.
Lackluster, shall we say.
Hysterical. Just like, But he is cornered by Cammy the Chameleon. He hides in the arcade. He calls 911 to get the sheriff to try to come and help them. Like, he does do some useful shit. But then Cammy the Chameleon comes in and feeds him this line about, oh, the other animatronics make fun of me for my colorful skin. I hate it here. I just want to move on. I'm the good one. You can trust me.
I don't like them.
And he does. And she kills him for it. And this, I loved this.
It's a good beat.
Like, we knew he was fucked, but this worked so well, because this is the guy who, the trailer door was unlocked, but he tried to break it down. And he's trying so hard to be protective of Liv, and he's trying so hard to just be like, oh, I'm the knight in shining armor, or I'm the, like, they called it Superman, no more heroics.
This is the one that should have gotten killed by the knight, right?
No, I think this fit better, because, you know, he wanted to, you know, help people, and justice, and be the best, and yada-da-da-da, whatever. And he got so played. And it worked so well. And it's like, we did this for this character. Why could we not do the same for everyone else?
Yeah, why couldn't each of the teenagers have gone up against a particular animatronic that acted as a particular foil to their characters? And granted, sure, we don't necessarily need each of them to be a dark reflection of this character's inner self or anything like that. But, like, setups like what Chris had with the chameleon were infinitely more interesting than just Siren Sarah going up against Liv, and then having that scene go absolutely nowhere. Like, that's a scene that happens before the kids break in, because Liv's the only one in there because she wants to try to warn the janitor about what's happening.
Because they came back to torch the place. They covered it in gasoline, and
she didn't want him to die.
Yeah.
So she comes in to the building before the rest of them, and gets cornered by Siren Sarah, and quite literally the two of them start fighting. We cut away, and then the next time we see Liv, she's running up to the janitor going, "Oh yeah, I
took her down, but that won't last long." And it's like, how? I think that was one of those things that was stitched together, and it was one of those, you put a term in the script that you go to find and replace when you need to go and fix something, and it didn't pick that up for some reason.
And now, granted, the way Siren Sarah is introduced as a foil to Liv is very interesting, because it's like, oh, goody, finally a girl to play with.
Like, you like to see my tree house?
It's a good setup, but like, there was so much more time and energy put into setting up Siren Sarah as a foil for Liv and the chameleon as a foil to Chris. There was so much time put into that. Where was that time and effort for everyone else? You know?
Can we talk a little bit about Siren Sarah?
Yeah.
I appreciate all.
No, we're done here.
No, fuck her. All of these other animatronics were very, very obviously people in suits. The only other one was Ozzy the Ostrich, and we definitely saw some CGI going there, and there was probably some green screen going on.
Both him and Willy probably, there was probably a number of stuff just done with puppeteering.
Yeah. Probably just like green screening out the puppeteer.
Yeah, for sure.
Although Willy at some points definitely had some dude in suit going on. But Siren Sarah was very obviously a woman in a dress and ballet slippers with a foam head. And it was just...
Her acting was good.
Oh, her acting was phenomenal.
Her physicality was fantastic.
Yes. And Siren Sarah is the only one where the person doing the voice is the same as the person in the suit.
Yes.
So she, unbelievably good, well done. And just the bits of... There's one point where she crawls backwards up a tree, and I'm pretty sure that's just footage reversed. But that also meant that she would have had to crawl forwards, face down, down a tree.
I'm pretty sure that was CGI.
You think so?
Yeah.
I know a lot of her stuff was... A lot of what happened with some of the scenes and whatnot was footage sped up. And that definitely happened with
It looked like
hers.
CGI to me. To me. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that
I haven't
happened.
seen any behind-the-scenes stuff on this movie yet.
Blu-ray,
so
hopefully.
We'll know when the Blu-ray comes out.
But just, I think she did a good job, but also it just kept throwing me that it's like, that is very obviously a human, and I can see her skin. And then a foam head.
Yeah, no.
That just kept throwing me.
It's a great performance.
Oh,
and
yeah.
her physical acting is great. And, you know, she's sitting here doing, like, cartwheels and stuff with this giant foam head. That can't be easy. But it's also a woman in a foam head. It looks pretty ridiculous. But her performance should be commended.
I feel like even if she'd just been wearing a bodysuit and then the dress, like I would have, not like a big clunky animatronic one like everyone else, but even just like one of those skin-tight bodysuits where you can see the seaming and then a dress, I would have felt better about it, but that was not the case. And so there were just bits where I was like...
Speaking of vocal performances, though, like we mentioned that the best scene in the movie is this little song and dance number. Do you want to talk about the music a little bit?
Yes. Do you want me to talk about it?
Yes, go for it. Go for it.
So you watch the credits and you see the same name come up over and over and over, and I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this wrong. It's spelled E-M-O-I, and it's got an accent over the E, so it's like Amoi? Amoi? I have no idea. But this man, holy shit. He's the voice of Willy, the speaking voice, the singing voice, and he composed all of the music for this movie. Anything that wasn't already an existing song that they used, he composed. He arranged. He did all of it. And he also did the 80s ballad that plays at one point in the movie. He wrote that, he sang that, everything.
During his breaks, the janitor keeps coming back to this pinball machine in, I guess it's the kitchen?
For some reason, yes.
I guess it's like break room that's adjacent to the kitchen or something like that.
When he takes the contract, you know, shake hands, do this, one of the things that Tex, the owner, tells him is, you know, pace yourself, take plenty of breaks. And he takes that to heart.
He really does. He takes it very seriously.
And there's this routine every time he takes a break. Like, he sets his watch, the watch beeps, he goes in the kitchen, he pulls out one of the sodas that he brought with him, and he works on this pinball machine.
Yes. And so he finally gets to the point where, like, he's got the whole thing cleaned off, and so he plays a couple rounds and gets really into it, and we get this crazy, like, really fun 80s ballad. But that's actually him going back to the break room over and over again is what led, we touched on it, but we didn't actually talk about we didn't get to the punchline.
The best.
Of what you said was the scene that was worth the price of admission for this movie.
Because we keep seeing him, like, okay, watch beeps, go in, pop the soda, work on the pinball machine, or play pinball, watch beeps again, crunch the soda can, throw it in the trash.
And all of those sequences are perfect.
Oh my god, yes.
They are pitch perfect for what they're trying to be.
The janitor's love affair with this pinball machine is the best relationship in the movie.
Yeah,
so
it checks out.
So you see him working, like, take a break, take a break. Okay. So, at the point where Chris gets killed, and it's terrible. It's the tongue and it wraps around his neck, and it's supposed to be a neck snap, but there's not enough violence to it to really make it look like that was the case. Yeah,
I'm dead.
He just kind of, It's like, come on. Just come. It was a very, after a really good build-up, it was a very disappointing execution.
Underwhelming, yeah.
Underwhelming. Like, I love the concept of it, of just that very sudden grab and neck snap, but there was no oomph to it.
No, I mean, just like the song scene with the subsequent scenes of death that followed, it's like, great build-up.
And we're here
Payoff.
now. The best deaths were for the animatronics.
They were.
It's, again, you rip the spine out of an ostrich and it's still dripping oil, and it's like...
Considering what this movie was trying to be, that checks out. But that's when you should probably drop a couple of the teen characters if that's what we're focusing on. But anyway, to get back to this scene.
Liv finds Chris, and Chris is like, oh yeah, no, this one's different. So Liv, prepares for battle, and the janitor walks in up next to her, like the camera. He walks on frame, settles in, and his watch goes off. And he stops, and he looks at Liv, and he reaches in his pocket and pulls out the switchblade that he had taken from her earlier, hands it to her, and just walks away to go take his
break time.
Oh my god, just watching that go down. Unbelievable. And it just, because, they set up this routine of, do some cleaning, maybe murder an animatronic, maybe we'll cut to the kids, come back, take a break, etc. Like, they'd set up this break time that it's like, okay, something's gonna happen with one of these. And the payoff was perfect.
Yeah, that's a legitimately...
So good.
There's a lot in this movie that kind of made me chuckle or roll my eyes or whatever. This is a moment that's legitimately laugh out loud funny.
Oh my god, just perfect. And Liv survives the fight long enough for him to be done with his break and come back and just finish it. And it will not completely finish it, because at this point, after that wonderful fight, after all of the teenagers have died, this is where our plot lines converge.
Intersect, yeah.
Between what we've seen with the sheriff and Evan and getting the backstory and, not wanting a 911 call, and then here it is. And what's been going on inside Willy's Wonderland. And we have the sheriff coming and basically just going, untie that animatronic. Holy shit, Willy, we're so sorry. He's not acting on our behalf. Cuff this guy. Evan, you take Liv home, and I'm gonna sit outside here and make sure that this guy gets murdered. Even after Liv's going, you have no idea what you're doing. He's not stuck in there with them. They're stuck in there with him.
it's the Rorschach line, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a thing before Rorschach. But
I'm sure, but like that's the first time I heard it, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Oh boy! And that's,
So it's
that's something the audience figured out like 5 animatronics ago. 4 animatronics ago. Tito survives for a while.
But yeah, it's something that we figure out basically the second the ostrich is like, hey, I'm gonna eat ya. No, you're not,
I'm gonna eat your face! I'm gonna eat your face!
No. But yeah, so Liv and Evan go off, and she basically tears him down and was just like, hey, you know, you're in on this, I thought police were supposed to protect people, da-da-da-da-da, and, as she's tearing him down and he's insisting he's not like everybody else in the town, that's when Tito the turtle attacks, because I guess he was hanging out on the cop.
I mean, they're driving this whole time.
Yeah.
He stops the car and does the, you know what, I am gonna do something. I'm gonna do the right thing. And then Turtle reaches in through window and just blah, 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 drags him out. Blah, 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 blah,
and this is super lackluster too, because we know the second he says he's got a wife and kid at home, that's when we know this guy is super toast.
He, like most of our college kids, was put here to pad the body count. And that's not a bad thing if he was put there to pad the body count and to be a backstory recipient, so the audience could then also get the other half of the backstory that Liv did not have. So, you know, 85 pounds of backstory in a 10-pound bag.
Yeah.
Here we are.
But his death scene is so not as cool as it should have been, you know?
We don't even know how, because there's a lot of death scenes like, okay, neck snap, okay, arm torn off, okay, that like you can tell. The ones where it's just kind of animatronic flails at someone and there's blood are the really disappointing ones. And we had that with Dan, and also the strobe light, which made his doubly just like...
Yeah.
And we have that with Evan, too, where he's flailed at and then pulled out of the car and then flailed at some more, and he's just... And Tito is the only talking electronic.
No,
Simon Sarah. Never mind. I'm
honestly, they all speak.
They all
speak.
Much. I'm very smart. Tito speaks in Spanish. And
yeah.
That's why it stuck out. He's the only talking electronic.
He also seems to be the only one that knows Liv by name. Here's another bit of the story that should have probably been a bigger through line of the narrative. Liv is a survivor from when she's a kid.
Yeah.
Tito is the only one that calls her, of the animatronics, that calls her out by name. And the implication is that that's because of the relationship the animatronics have with the sheriff, not so much because they remember Liv. Like
if they knew Liv was there, they would have eaten her.
As a survivor, Liv should have some sort of significance to them, either because they chose to let her go, or because they couldn't get to her. Like, I don't know, it should have been a bigger deal. Like, it would have been nice to have Willy in particular recognize her and be like, oh, the birthday girl's come back. Literally anything. But there's nothing. It's just Tito being like, oh, hey, Senorita Liv, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, he got to be sassy, and I love this.
No, I appreciated the sass, and I appreciate any time a horror movie, anything, gets to speak Spanish. Even though I need to brush up on mine, but like, it's always nice to hear. But yeah, there's nothing. And she doesn't even kill him. She beats him, and he's like, stop, please! And she's like, just, okay.
Stop! Oh god, my balls! I'm like, you're a turtle.
Like, literally, no mas. Well, they might have killed my parents, but I guess he's learned his lesson. Time for me to walk back to Willy's Wonderland.
I guess.
And it's one thing to feel like maybe you don't have it in you, either... like, you're too tired or whatever, or you just, from an emotional standpoint, you don't have it in you to kill something that's begging for its life, but she doesn't even get to kill Tito.
The fact that she was not involved in
the climax,
the climax of the movie is, I think, one of the movie's bigger missteps. And again, one of the things where I think the stitching shows, because for our main characters, we put the janitor as our main character, but In terms of story beats, in terms of history, in terms of who she knows and what she's trying to do, Liv, by all accounts, should be the main character. So the fact that she is...
I mean, she is our final girl.
Yeah. She's our final girl with a badass friend, let's be
real.
Yeah,
she's our final girl who doesn't have to do all the things a final girl normally has to do because Nicolas Cage is in this movie.
She's the final girl in the teenage slasher horror part of the script that got merged with the Nicolas Cage beating up animatronics script. So
the entire self-insert Five Nights at Freddy's fanfic that that Nicolas Cage wrote and went like, well, if I was in this game, I'd just beat the crap out of those animatronics.
Basically, her final girl circuit and essentially her final girl agency was not a part of this movie.
Yeah.
Part of the climax, because of just her role in the story, should have belonged to her and didn't. And that was disappointing. And again, that's one of those, another pass on the script, etc. So yeah, she shows up after the parties. Like, I would have loved for her to show up for that last bit. For Willy killing the sheriff. And then beating up Nick Cage. And then we get her having to survive in the pizzeria trying to get away from Willy while Nick Cage recovers and puts the last of his sodas in his burlap bag to make a giant blackjack and makes his beating stick and then comes back out to face Willy again.
Yeah, and like, the two of them take Willy down together.
Exactly.
And look,
and it would have been a great, you would have had the final girl circuit through the locations we've established, through the vents, through Siren Sarah's not playroom, grotto, grove.
That I was gonna say. The word that kept coming to my mind was Wonderland, and I was like, no, the whole place is a Wonderland.
Like grotto or grove or something. The happy fun time room, the kitchen. Like, you could have had the final girl circuit through all of this, and then cut it with an injured Nicolas Cage getting out of the ball pit, duct taping his wounds, putting his stuff together and getting ready so that by the time she's back to the main stage, Willy comes in running after her and he just clocks him with something.
Yeah.
I've rewritten the last part of this movie and I like it better.
Where like the two interwoven stories actually connect a little
bit. Weave at the end? Yeah.
Because Liv basically shows up after the party's done and look,
she also did not get to see the sheriff die. And I think that there was something there that we missed, you know?
Yeah. We definitely missed out on something there. But I will say, again, to this film's credit for being clearly two separate stories that are smushed together, I mean, for the campy sort of power fantasy action romp that is Nicolas Cage just beating up animatronics, there's nothing specifically wrong with his side of things of just silent protagonist kicking the crap out of all these animatronics. And if you want that to be your climax, that's totally fine. Yeah. It's just, why have all these superfluous teens be there if they are just going to be superfluous, you know?
Yeah. Again, it's one of the things that didn't mix as well. And I think, you know, another pass with the script, take the sandpaper and just kind of buff out all the rough edges.
Like the janitor does with his nails.
Yeah, exactly. Forgot about that, but yes, exactly. That's what they should have been doing with the script. But yeah, so again, it's a little bit of a mess. It's a little janky. It's B-horror movie schlock, and I enjoyed it so much. And I know we've been sitting here going, this could have been better, this was an issue, but you guys, we cannot oversell that a good chunk of this movie was Nicolas Cage either beating the tar out of possessed homicidal animatronics or having a love affair with a pinball machine. Like, both of these were equally great for different reasons, but they were just... oh my god, it's Nicolas Cage being his most Nicolas Cage without having any dialogue to hold him back. So it's all face acting, it's all physicality, it's all yelling when it comes to the fight scenes, it's all expressions, it's all dancing at one point with the pinball machine. It's, oh my god, it's incredible. There's a reason that he's what sells this movie.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I have a soft spot for certain horror tropes. I have a soft spot for the childish sing-songy rhyme that's actually really creepy. I have a soft spot for Town is In on It. I have a soft spot for the Something Wicked This Way Comes, where it's like we take something really fun and fanciful and make it horrifying instead. But instead of a carnival, it's a pizza. It's a family fun center.
Yes.
from the late 80s, early 90s. Like, that shit is good. I love seeing Nicolas Cage get to be not only a silent protagonist, but also be essentially this movie's Ash Williams, where it's just like, he was just missing a chainsaw and the ability to deliver one-liners.
I don't think he needed either of those.
No,
honestly.
he didn't. But, like, it's so... I always appreciate horror movies where there is an Ash Williams-esque character who's like, oh, there's a monster there? Cool. I'm gonna hit it in the face. Over and over again until it dies. And so...
It's fun. It's fun.
Nicolas Cage is an excellent choice if you're going to do a movie like that. But yeah, there's so much of this... There are so many things in this movie sprinkled throughout. There are also little touches. Like, we talked about the script needing more work, but it should also be stated that there are little things here or there that expand on the world building and that, like, kind of like the stage scene, are a little too good for this movie. Like, when they're bringing in Nicolas Cage's car into the shop, there are so many other cars that are just
lined up.
Off
and
to
it's
the side.
something that you don't know the significance of. Like, I didn't catch that until the second time we watched it, because the first time it's like, all right, you know,
And
middle of nowhere town, whatever.
Overhead shot too, where again, like, not too much attention is drawn to it. It's just there. And
But
if you know the history of the town, you get it. But yeah, without having that context, it's just like, oh, it's just a junkyard, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But it just, there are bits where on a rewatch, on a second or third watch, it's like, oh, this. You're picking up little things in the set dressing. You're picking up little things in how the animatronics move. What else is present in Willy's?
Yeah.
You're picking up on all sorts of other fun stuff.
It's funny because, like, our biggest criticism is that this script needed another pass. That being said, there is a lot of thought and effort put into the world building and, like you said, the set dressing and the costuming and just lots of little things here and there. There's a lot of personality in this movie that's easy to overlook when you focus on the bigger plot issues, or if you're like me and you're distracted by the overuse of the wide-angle lens.
Like, one of my favorite little details, and this is just a tiny little thing, and I noticed it both times, in our second fight with Tammy, because there are two, because she didn't die the first time around, we get a close-up on her face, and it's, you know, the big eyes, because chameleon, and they blink and whatever, because animatronic. Well, she's got the eyelashes, because it's a girl animatronic, and one of them is fine, and one of them is halfway over the eye and doesn't move when the eye blinks. And I just noticed that, and I'm like, that's wear and tear, and that's so fucking creepy, but it's so good. It's just this one little thing in the close-up. It's one little costume detail, and it's like, that made that for me.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. This isn't a movie like... Now, I will say, if you're looking at this movie to be a spectacular disaster like The Room, you will be disappointed. It's too good for that. But its issues do keep it from being, in my opinion, a legitimately great horror comedy.
Yeah.
So it is somewhere, it's one of those movies where it's somewhere in between. And if you're okay with that, you will have a good time. But if you're looking for something that's either so disastrously bad that it's hilarious, or so uncannily creepy that like it's gonna keep you up at night and give you nightmares, you're not going to be satisfied with this movie. But if you come at it from the perspective of like,
be horror movie schlock.
Be horror movie schlock, or if you watched a few Let's Players play Five Nights at Freddy's and you see the frustration of being like, why can't I just have a normal avatar that can punch these things? Like, if you've watched a Let's Play like that, or if you've played Five Nights at Freddy's and that's been your, like, frustration with it, then this will probably be a cathartic experience for you. Yeah. Just don't expect it to scare you in the way that Freddy's does.
Yeah, no, this knows exactly what it is. And you get to see in the trailer, when you watch the trailer, exactly what it is. It's not pretending to be avant-garde or amazing. It's not pretending to be like the scariest horror movie you've ever seen.
It's not pretending, and it's not pretentious. Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, just it's B horror movie schlock. You watch a B horror movie and you're like, is this the greatest thing I've ever seen? No. Is everyone here having a really good time? Absolutely. It knows what it is, it leans into that curve, and let's be real, it definitely skids at some places, but it still makes the turn.
And
so
you know
fun.
What?
I recommend it. I like it.
At the end of the day, I think we both had fun. So
that was it. It was our birthday, and they wanted us to have fun, and we did.
Yeah, I don't
coming back to that joke.
I don't think I'll be revisiting this movie as much as you will in the future. But again, I can appreciate it for like that. It's Friday night. I've got a beer. I've got pizza. Let's do this. Like,
it's like 80 minutes long. Why the fuck not?
And
or 90.
I think I legitimately think it would be a fun double feature because I have it on DVD. I think it would be
Banana Splits.
I think it would be a fun double feature with Banana Splits. And whenever we do finally get that Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I would love to watch Willy's Wonderland either before or after, depending on the quality of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yeah, still in hell.
Like, I think Willy's Wonderland would be a really fun pregame movie of like, hey, we're doing a crazy double feature, let's do this. And then Five Nights at Freddy's is the main attraction.
So when we looked at the trailer for this, I had a big long thing about the haunted horror. I got stuck between horror and haunted, and it came wanted. About the haunted animatronic subgenre of horror and how it has become more of a thing since FNAF hit its heyday. And how the whole idea behind it, the strength of it was not the animatronics themselves, but the humans behind it. Mm-hmm. The humans who are stuck in this scenario and how well do they carry the story. So for here, we got our backstory. We know why our animatronics are haunted. It was a lot of backstory. It was so much backstory. They really were going for FNAF levels, weren't they?
They were.
God damn. I just realized that. Anyway, but we also got our human element, not only in the janitor, but also in Liv. And saying that it was the human element that really carries this story. How the humans react, how they do things, whether they survive or not, is what carries an animatronic story. And in terms of the human element, narrowed down specifically to our two protagonists, I think we succeeded here. You root for the janitor, you root for Liv, and everyone else is cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And it works.
And yes, as we said, Liv's arc in particular could have been handled better, and it could have been better interwoven with the janitor storyline. I mean,
Liv's arc was a casualty of the murder.
Yeah.
The merger.
I mean, yes on both.
Whoops!
But yeah, if you boil it down to, are we rooting for the both of them, and do they both make it out of this scenario alive?
And are they interesting characters?
Yes.
Do we have two fucks to rub together? And the answer is yes, absolutely.
Yes. I'm just saying that this story could have been ironed out a little bit better, and I don't think anybody's arguing that it was perfect. But for what it was, I think we had fun. Okay, one other big complaint. One other big complaint before we wrap it up.
Okay.
Willy's did not burn. The place itself did not burn down.
And if it did, it wasn't made explicit. Because the movie ends with Tex and our mechanic, Jed Love, coming back with the car, you know, intact. And it's this really nice-ass sports car.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage gets his car back, which is...
Nicolas Cage walks out, like, and they're like, holy shit, he survived, gets his car back. And, you know, Liv walks up from her sojourn on the road, and they exchange a look, and then she gets in the car, and they drive off. And we get this, oh, well, damn, I might actually reopen this place. Because he owns it, and it's clean, and the animatronics are gone, and holy shit, and they're talking about it. And it turns out Siren Sarah is still alive, and I guess put some gasoline or like a gasoline-soaked rag or something into the tailpipe of Tex's car. So the two guys get in and are chatting, and then Siren Sarah appears in the rear view mirror. Thank you for coming to Willy's Wonderland. We hope you enjoy your stay. And lights the tailpipe with a lighter that had been discarded earlier in the movie.
It was Chekhov's lighter.
And then we see the car explode, and then the reflection of an explosion in Nicolas Cage's mirrored sunglasses. You're right, we don't ever see the building go up. And I think that was implied in the explosion, but considering how much time was spent covering that building in gasoline, the fact that we did not get to see it go, even if it was just in CGI, is kind of like...
Yeah, it feels weird to allow that building to keep standing. Even if all the animatronics are dead, it feels weird to allow Willy's Wonderland, the building, to persist.
Yeah. And then Liv and the janitor opens a soda, offers it to Liv. Okay, we bond. And then they run over Tito on the way out.
I will say, one of the best things about Liv's dynamic with the janitor is that their most meaningful moments are ones done without dialogue. The first time they see each other, they exchange a look, and there's a lot of significance placed on that. And I think it's the main thing that indicates to the janitor that things in this town are not okay. And same thing, when she's expositing to him, he doesn't care. It's literally not how he communicates.
But I do love the... Did you not hear a word I just said? Like, there was some pretty funny stuff there.
Yeah, and so it's just great. And that scene that we talked about, that was, again, worth the price of admission. Also, a scene where the two of them did not exchange any words. And every subsequent moment where they actually connect is stuff that's done without Liv trying to communicate to him, because that's something that everybody in this movie does. They talk over the janitor, they talk at him. They're not engaging with him in the same way that he engages with other people. And so the most meaningful connections he makes are where he can just exchange a look with somebody and be understood, and to understand that person in return without the use of words. And so that's something I think that this movie excels at too, is oh, that's how these characters connect. They do it wordlessly because this is a character that doesn't use his voice in that way.
So this movie has some weird strengths and some weird weaknesses, but it balances
it really does.
Well. I like it though.
I don't even know if it's really balanced. I feel like it's just that. It's got some strengths, it's got some weaknesses, and it's a lot of your mileage may vary in terms of whether or not that's your cup of tea or your jam.
It's a weird movie. It's not necessarily the greatest movie, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
But then again, I am also neck deep in sinking in FNAF here, so I was in it to win it for this from the beginning. And again, it worked a lot better once I had an actual 8 hours of sleep per month in my life.
To this movie's credit, you've been thinking about it for days after having seen it. There are so many...
This has lived in my head rent-free for a week!
Yeah. There are a lot of movies, and like, I you know me, I love my horror movies. There are a lot of horror movies where you consume them and you're like, well, that was an hour and a half to 2 hours of my life. Moving on. And you don't give them a second thought.
It's the Jeremy Johns won't remember it in T-1 day.
Yeah. And it's not just horror movies. There are a lot of movies like that where you're like, well, that was 2 hours that I was entertained. Moving on now. I am an adult. I have things to do.
Yeah.
But so the fact that this movie can stick in your brain for multiple hours after the fact, multiple days after the fact, and let's be real,
tomorrow
you'll probably be thinking about it well into next week too.
I am going to buy myself that Blu-ray, and I really hope that there's deleted scenes, special features. I'm not kidding. I would kill a man for it. I would not kill a man, but I would love. And I'm trying to keep myself from saying that. I would love a Nick Cage commentary track. Or better yet, a janitor commentary track where it's just the movie and there's no commentary because he's silent. I don't know. I'm here for the gag. I'm also here for, I want the commentary. I want the behind the scenes. I want everything. Give it to me. Yes, please. I don't know if this movie has a big enough budget to be able to do that, but I still want it. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, movie has problems. That doesn't mean it's not a good time. It's just a shame that those problems are there when there are ways to have fixed them. Because there are definitely movies where I'll sit down and watch them and be like, this was a problem, but I don't know how else they would have done it. That's not the case here. There were some very easy fixes.
I would like to specifically just do this and surgically remove this and then make this better and then remove this too. And then make this better. We need to do a little bit of paring down, and we need to sand the edges down, and we need to give a little bit more character to the people who remain, and we're good.
But at the end of the day, you know what? You made a movie. And that's awesome.
That's hard.
Yeah. Stories are hard, and it's so easy for somebody from an outside perspective to be like, well, you could have done this, this, and this, and made it better.
Stories are hard.
As somebody who's writing a thing, it's very hard to separate yourself and come at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
So, yes, there are things that could have been done to make this movie better, but like, I also don't want to rag on it too much because stories are hard.
Yeah, no, this was great. Enjoyed it very much.
Any final thoughts?
I love it.
I'm out of whiskey and I'm sober again.
Yeah, I'm out of, my Calpico is empty. I really enjoyed this movie. If any of this is your jam, weird horror comedy, haunted animatronics, just any of this noise, if anything that we've said, and we basically spoiled the whole ass movie for you, let's be real. If anything that we've said sounds like fun to you, watch the movie. Guys, it's a good time.
And if anything that we've said is enough to put you off from the movie, then it's not for you.
Then don't watch the movie.
It's not for you, and
why are you still here?
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah,
appreciate that.
Like I said, I think it makes for a fun double feature with the banana splits. It makes for a great movie to watch when you're eating pizza. Home.
Pizza, popcorn, soda.
Exactly. And I cannot wait for Five Nights at Freddy's to finally get out of development hell so that I could get that double feature.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can't wait for the kill count for this movie.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm so excited. Find the YouTube channel Dead Meat and subscribe to it and watch the kill counts because they're amazing.
But we don't have like all the nameless family members and all the nameless extras. So I was
actually in the montage.
Yeah, I was actually trying to do the kill count just now, and I was like, nope.
Well,
that's James's job.
If he includes animatronics, we're going to be well into 30. If he doesn't, it's going to be low 20s.
But probably. Yeah, if you're not already familiar, head on over to the YouTube channel Dead Meat and check out the Kill Count series. It is a delight. Oh my gosh.
It's good. It's good. If there are horror YouTubers you should whose content you should be consuming, it's James A. Janice and Ryan Hollinger.
Yeah, we're not affiliated with either of them.
No,
we just love their shit.
They don't know we exist, but it's fine.
We just love their shit.
Just love their shit.
But yeah, I think on that note, yeah, check out Willy's Wonderland if it sounds like your cup of tea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I am also on a podcast. It is an Overwatch and Overwatch League podcast called On the Point. Be sure to check that out. We're on hiatus right now because the season's on hiatus, but we will probably come back for this next season because, oh boy, it's going to be nuts. And if you like reactions to non-horror things, including whatever the fuck Overwatch stuff drops at BlizzCon this coming weekend, okay, it's going to be on that channel.
Yeah, I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I have a podcast for the series Lost. It's a Lost retrospective podcast called No Love Lost, where my co-host Willy loves Lost, and I don't, and we talk about it. And we're also members of Rooster Team Radio, where we sit down and we talk about Rooster Teeth related shows. Like Ruby.
Ruby's basically been a horror movie these past couple episodes, and it's nuts.
Been so good.
Oh my god.
So head on over to your podcast app of choice to check those out. Also, if you are in the mood for horror and horror adjacent things, as a part of Rooster Team Radio, we have a audio drama fan-made series called Welcome to Vale, which is kind of like the world of Ruby meshed with the world of Welcome to Night Vale.
Yep.
And we just put out a new episode of that this past weekend for Valentine's Day. So go check those things out. It's a good time. Am I missing any plugs?
Not plugs, I don't think.
Nope, but we do have one more announcement before we go.
Yes, we end with the important things. Wear a mask. Anytime you go outside, doesn't matter how far you're going, if it's just to walk the dog or check your mail. Wow, words. Wear a mask,
to check
guys.
your dog and walk your
Check your dog and walk the mail. Wear a mask. It supports other. It protects you a little and protects other people a lot, and that's kind of the important part. So do that. Support your essential workers. Support your postal workers. They don't have the option of staying home in order to work, and they are doing their best in a crazy situation. So be patient, be kind, support them. They are doing everything they can, and y'all should be doing the same in return. Black Lives Matter. Black LGBTQIA lives matter. Black trans lives matter. Black lives matter. That has not changed. That is not going to change. Black Lives Matter. I know it's been like months since the election, but thank you for voting. Thank you for voting. Yeah. Thank you for voting. Thank you for voting. Vote in your local elections when they come up, because if you want change, if you want things to start going your way, it does start at the local level, because then local people get elected to county, get elected to state, get elected to federal. There is a way that this works. So if you start with policies at the local level, it does go up. Also, call your representatives. Contact your representatives. If you like what they've been doing, contact them and say, hey, thank you for voting on this thing. I really like that. Or thank you for supporting this thing. That was great. And if you don't like what they're doing, you call them up and you go, hey, I need you to support this thing. Or I need you to not do this anymore. You represent me. You do what I say. So contact your representatives. Positive reinforcement works. All that fun stuff. Be polite, regardless of whether or not your representative deserves it. Be polite. Thank you for voting. If you're a Trump supporter, you can fuck off. We have no room for that here.
Nope.
Goodbye. And for those of you who are still here, we love you. Take care of each other, because that is the only way we are going to get through this. Wear a mask. Remember, we love you.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. It's your birthday and we want you to have fun. It's your birthday, so let's kill.
Okay, I didn't realize we were going with that verse.
I didn't know we were going with that one.
Obviously. I'm here for a party. You're here for murder.